Y'all, welcome back to Kentucky Fried Wargaming, where two guys who aren't qualified to talk about anything decide to talk about a game with hard math and chance. I'm Joe.
And I'm John.
And on this episode, we're kind of getting a little loosey-goosey, John. Oh God, what is that?
I'm doing that Tyrannid thing from the video, like the big spooky tentacle thing.
Okay, yeah, that you're certainly undulating here on this show today. I hate that word.
In my lane, undulating.
Not hydrated. Yeah, we are wanting to come to everyone a little loosey-goosey and undulating to give just a quick update on Kentucky Fried Wargaming. I feel like previously we've had a lot of topics that needed to go out when they did. It was referential and topical, and we've got a lot more of those coming up, which we will talk about in a few minutes. But we wanted to take this brief moment in the chaos and shelling to just give a state of Kentucky Fried Wargaming, a state of the Holler, if you will, to talk about what we have coming out and what we're going to be doing new, because there will be a lot of new stuff, as well as how we're feeling about the show in general, and then what some of our future interests are outside of what we've been talking about lately. But first, hobby time and games played. All right, John, what you been up to?
So, I have been working on Dark Angels again. 10th is coming, so I must prepare for Dark Angels. I've also been working on Guard because I don't know how to only do one faction.
You cannot help yourself.
But also, Conquest. Much
Yes.
Conquest. I've been building with Rune, and it's been a lot of fun. I've been learning a lot about Conquest, really enjoying what I'm seeing so far. And last thing is I've been building terrain. I've built almost half a table worth of orc terrain.
40k orc or AOS orc?
40k orc.
I was going to say like sword orc or shooty orc, but shooty orc also is sword orc.
Yes. Like I have, so it's the Kill Tame Octarius terrain stuff.
Oh,
I'm building a bunch of that.
Okay.
I just have a couple more bits to finish, and then I'll be done. That, and I ordered some terrain from a place called like Pegasus Games, which makes this really cool like Gothic ruin sets that I'll have to paint once it gets here. But it was cheap compared to like other terrain. Like it was like $40 for a couple of big ruins, as opposed to like GW, which is like, hey, here's $90 for a building.
Yeah, I found that Etsy especially is a wonderful place to get terrain.
Well, even Etsy has gotten really expensive lately, because I was looking on there the other night.
Like, I loved it. I got like a full table for like $90. It was great.
Yeah, you're now lucky to get like half a table for like $150.
Oh, that's sad.
Like I was looking on Etsy, and a lot of it has like kind of like died out, where like a lot of the guys were just like selling stuff that you could like paint or no longer doing it. It's a lot of MDF that like I don't really want to pay $150 for a table worth of terrain that's MDF terrain. It's not my thing.
I'd prefer my terrain to be like plastic 3D printed.
And I'm gonna be honest, if I'm gonna spend $150 on a table of terrain, I'm just going to buy a filament printer and print it myself.
Hey,
especially
there's
before,
an option.
Like, MDF, like at that price range, it's starting to get to the point where I'm like, all right, I might as well just buy an actual filament printer and print terrain.
We do need access to a filament printer.
We do.
We are in this situation where like we are the resin guys. Like when people need prints, they come to us, and we print them resin stuff,
like bits and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Or I mean, I've printed whole armies for people.
I mean, it is what it is. GW lawyers are come at us. It's fine.
They're legal proxies. They'll leave me alone. They're not GW minis. They were proxies. It's not like GW even makes the Tomb Kings anymore. So what do you want from me? But we don't have anyone to go to do the same for us with plastic printing. And unfortunately for terrain, you really need it.
And like I love GW terrain models. I really do. Like I think they look great. They're phenomenal. They fit the setting really well. When you see them on the table, they look They look really, really good. But the only way it's reasonable to get them is through box sets that have them. Like the Kill Team box set's a really good example. If you want the miniatures anyways, and you want terrain, you might as well buy them. They're great. Or like Warcry is another good example. Warcry terrain looks beautiful, and that's a fun game.
But you gotta buy the big box sets,
Yeah.
which are expensive in the whole.
But like I'm fine with that. And then sometimes you end up with stuff like the Necromunda Ashways box, which is like $300 with like 12 miniatures, but like really big fancy terrain, and you're like, holy crap, that's a lot of money.
That's a no from me, dog.
It's a no from me, dog. And like I don't want to walk into a game store and spend $90 on a ruin. I just don't want to. Like it looks really good. I really like it, but that's $90. Like
Yeah, it's that seems a little much to me.
And I get it.
Especially when you could just get a printer for not a ton more.
Yeah. And
especially for plastic, which are cheaper than resins.
Yeah, and like I can, like, don't get me wrong, I've resin 3D printed terrain pieces before. It's just a pain. But a filament printer, you can just make a bunch of different terrain. And to be honest, I'm somebody who I want to have a huge library of terrain to choose from. Like even in my own house, I'm trying to get like a space for a shelf to store terrain on, so that when we play games at the house, we can just pick and choose and build a cool battlefield. You know, I want to buy play mats. When we have our big events, I want to bring like Tupperware containers full of terrain, where we can be like, hey, you want to play in an industrial zone? Here's an industrial zone. Do we want to play in a fantasy setting with like dark castles? Boom. Do we want like gothic spooky swamp town? Boom. Like, and because we do D&D, it helps with the ambiance of that.
It does.
And so
you get to double dip.
I think it's really something I'm going to push forward for in the future, because trying to buy this stuff individually is just too fucking expensive. And it is much easier to just make stuff myself.
Yeah. It's certainly not as easy as just like set up the box and hit print. It's a hobby unto itself, but we are already into that hobby, which makes it more feasible.
I actually like don't necessarily agree with that anymore. I think that it's just a tool. And like any tool, you gotta learn how to use it, and you gotta learn how to use maintenance on it. And
I don't know. Like, it is certainly a tool, but like, if I'm going to use my socket wrench, it's very easy to put a 10mm socket on it and bust a bolt.
Well, yeah, but
like, I don't have to learn how to 3D model and set up and support and get a little artsy-fartsy with it in layouts and efficiency to use the socket wrench.
I mean, that's fair. Maybe I'm just being reductive. All right.
Maybe you just really like the hobby, so it doesn't feel all of that different.
Listen, this is a podcast. This is not a therapy session.
So tell me about your relationship with your parents.
Not good.
Thanks, John. Me too. Ditto. I think we are already into the hobby, though, so it's less of a jump. But I would like more terrain. I've got 2 full tables worth, but it's, I don't have a lot of variety. One is like a cool sort of like barren plateau setup, which looks really good with like bluffs and rock formations. And like the second is a really cool like rocky mushroom forest idea, or like rocky mushroom barrens, which is cool. But there's no industrial zones or anything. Like, I feel like I need other, or like a little fantasy village. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's more flavor to have on a table that I just don't have yet.
And I also don't necessarily think, like, with resin printers, we do have, like, everyone kind of wants to have one, because we all have these, like, things we, like, get sparks of inspiration and go with. I don't necessarily think that we'll use a filament printer all the time.
I don't think so either.
So I think it might be something we can kind of pitch to our play group to be like, hey, can we all put in some shared cost for the sake of all of us having this thing? And, like, pick one person who will have access all the time. And they get the thing, and then everyone just kind of be like, hey, we need these things, or if we're gearing up for a big event, we all kind of pitch together, do the work to make the thing, and build it and paint it. Yeah, just work together as a team.
I mean, that's how we're putting on the events so far. Like, let's just keep it going.
Our events keep growing. Like, we have so many people interested. We've got close to like 20 people who want to play these games with us. Like,
which is wonderful. It's a great problem to have.
But now we have to find spaces to rent. Like...
Yeah, like we're going to talk about it, but we're trying to put on this big get together, and I just ain't got the room in my house to have this many full wargame tables.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful problem. Nor do I have the terrain to put on those tables, but we'll fix it. But I mean, I did a year build trade. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Just started and then didn't stop. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, there's a freedom in building terrain instead of models where like you can be like, oh, I fucked up. It's fine. I got hit by a shell. Um,
Good enough.
yeah, and like it's just a different scale. It's a much bigger
Same thing for
scale. So much
painting
easier.
terrain. Like painting terrain is also, good enough.
Yeah, yeah. I just have to get there. You know.
Yeah. Whereas like painting minis, you're really in the like sometimes lost in the sauce. Fun vibe.
Yes. Well, what have you been doing? Tell me.
Uh, well, honestly, I don't know. I wanted to say like, oh, I haven't done a lot of hobby, but I'm lying now that I'm thinking about it. I probably should have thought about my piece before we did this bit. Um, I got a little less done because I had a lot of outside life stuff to try to prep for. We had my 30th birthday party.
We did.
And it was an absolute blast. It was wonderful. Had just a bunch of people over,
They
and we
made
had
me
so much
take
fun.
8 Jello shots while playing a game of Drunken Munchkin, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. They weren't Jello shots. They were vodka gelatinous cubes.
Sure. We'll go with that. There were 8 of them. I walked away from the table going, oh yeah. After day drinking all day. Like,
I will say that is the thing I've noticed the difference between partying now and partying when we were in our younger 20s. At our younger 20s, we'd be like, wow, we drank till 3 a.m.
we're
But like,
powerful.
you've been drinking for like 3 hours. Like now, it's oh wow, like everyone's tired at midnight, but have we been drinking for 12 hours
Yeah, we
nonstop?
started drinking at 11 a.m. while we got the grill ready. Of course, we're a little tired at midnight where we're all winding down. Like, oh, we're all old. No, y'all. We've been drinking. We took a 13-hour shift at the Braxton Beer Company. Getting drunk while making burgers.
We're weak. No, we are taking on way more than we ever have before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wonderful time, and I had so much fun, and had all sorts of wonderful people over. But that took a lot of prep and a lot of house stuff and a lot of errands. But despite that, I did get quite a bit of hobbying done. Thinking back on it, we had a D&D themed party for me because I love like fantasy tabletops. So I did a lot of 3D printing so that everybody could have we sent everyone home with goodie bags, and we also wanted to send people home with minis. So I made a bunch of cool minis for everyone and 3D printed all of them and primed them and zenithal them so people can paint them if they want to. I also have been working on Conquest.
Conquest.
They released the new one-player starter sets for the new edition, and ours came in, and I built all of it. I've built every single mini out of there. Not all of those kits were equally easy to build, but we got there. Had a really good time. Did a lot of learning about Conquest. And then just a few days ago, I picked up on painting again. So I'm almost done painting that two little Yoda minis that are for the last minis I have for my Star Wars Legion army. The Yoda has 2 poses. One where he's like walking with his little cane and he's like slow walking, and then the other where he's like midair leaping off of a rock, lightsaber in hand. Because mechanically he has like a little one move where he's like the slowest movement in the game, but in one turn you can do like burst of force, and then Yoda, just like in the movies, turns on, and now he has the fastest move in the game, and like charge and all sorts of special rules.
That's really
So
fun.
you have to like swap minis when you do your ability, which
That's fun.
I love.
That's really fun.
It's great. So I get to paint not one Yoda, but 2 Yodas.
Double Yoda.
I love
Double Yoda up on a Saturday.
it. On a Sunday as we record.
The Lord's Day to talk about Yoda.
Yeah, it's a fun mini to paint, but it's something I'm trying to take my time on rather than army paint him and really like get in there and do little details and highlights and hand shadowing and kind of flex my paint muscles a little, which I don't feel like I normally do oftentimes because I'm painting to get an army done. And here, he's the last piece of the army. The rest of the army's done. So I might as well take my time and have a little bit of extra fun.
Yeah, just like really dive in there, you know.
But I'm really especially proud of the skin tones. The face just looks, so yeah, it's coming along. But I'm hoping I could keep things calm as I move forward, because now I'm trying to prep for the 10th launch.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually the reason why I started working on so much terrain, because I was like, wow, I got a bunch of models ready. I don't have a table to play it on.
Oh God, we're gonna need terrain. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna need so much. We'll talk more after the show about it. I have some ideas, but yeah.
Lucas has some. He's a champion.
Mm-hmm. We can't just rely on Lucas for everything, though. He can't be our one and only champion.
He's our number one fan. He is our champion. When you have a champion this good, who else do you need? Somewhere Lucas is giggling.
He is dying.
Yeah. God, he's great. We're gonna do a whole episode on Lucas one day, just like the most
Lucas
enthusiastic Warhammer player. The Lucas episode.
Oh, we build an entire faction around Lucas. Lucas is our emperor. All right, like
he is our emperor of enjoyment.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a little hobby going on, and more to come shortly. Now that I have a little bit more free time. Well, I have free time for now. I'm about to lose all of my free time, and let's talk about that. Seth, play the music. All right, John.
Yes.
We currently have time to eat and sleep.
Yes.
That is not going to be the case soon.
Arguably. I do work in logistics, all right. There's not a lot of time to eat and sleep.
Well, you're about to lose even more of it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Because, dear listeners, you may have heard this little game, Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah.
It's coming out with just like a little brief edition changeover.
Little patch. Little patch.
Not like redoing all the rules. There's going to be like a couple digital releases with they got like 2 or 3 or 27 armies.
New Fortnite pack. Just dropped.
Mm-hmm.
New character pack. Boom.
Yeah, it should be real easy. Just a little hotfix.
Yeah.
And good lord, there's so much stuff we're trying to make around it.
We've hoisted ourselves by our own Picard.
We have. And we just wanted to take some time to let y'all know in detail what's coming and what you can expect from us. So you're not blindsided or confused when stuff starts hitting the channel that you may not have seen before. And so you could hear it from us. Like what's coming and the purpose. So first and foremost, we are going to make brief, and I emphasize brief, faction focuses for every single faction in Warhammer 40k.
Mm-hmm.
Every one of them. We are going to make it a video content for every single one. An individualized video talking about the general lore of the faction, the sort of flavor of the faction and how it plays with its faction rule, pick a couple of war scrolls that are representative of the faction, and then give a tip per faction on how you could succeed with it. And the goal of this is specifically not to talk it to death. Looking around YouTube, there's a ton of places where if you are someone who is into the game deeply, and you want to deep dive on a faction, there are so many resources for you. I mean, there are hours-long videos per faction with detailed analysis of stats and optimization and stuff. And that's cool. But I feel like there is a gap there that needs to be bridged for people who are not super into it, are returning, or are new.
Yes.
And for whom a sort of tsunami of information is just too much.
Yes.
So here our goal is to try to cater to an audience like that, who maybe is coming back and they haven't played in a few editions and they don't know how everything plays anymore, or you're new and you're kind of somebody, as you do, has gone to the GW website and They like 4 different armies worth of models. Like these 4 armies have cool models, but they don't know about the tabletop or the lore.
And
That's who it's for.
and also
largely.
like when we've been talking about this content about what we wanted to make, one of the things that like I thought about, so when I go to research a new faction, or if I start looking into a faction that's getting a release, or I'm looking into a new thing, I don't stop at one video and get everything from one video. I will
No.
watch multiple videos from multiple different content creators with multiple different perspectives. And what I see a lot of is like, okay, there's 6 videos I want to watch. Each of them's an hour long. That's all deep dives. Ugh. I want a basic video to show me, and then I'll come back to the other ones to get the in-depth.
Mhm.
I think we're going to try here to be that introductory video, right? Like, obviously, you're not going to just watch stuff we make. We are not your sole person you get entertainment from. We are somebody that, like, we want to just show you a teaser, give you enough information, and you can decide if it's still more you want to go look at from other people. Perfectly fine.
Mhm.
I love seeing people, like, I love seeing content creators getting more views, getting more popular. Like, it's great. So if we make teaser videos, we can push people. Like, we have our own people we like to suggest, and I have no idea what's going to be out for those people. But we're going to try to make stuff that helps people go to those directions.
Mhm. You know, in the example of like, I looked on the website and like those big green dudes, the orcs are cool. Like I'm also cool with the space elves. Those look neat. Like some of those space marine dudes are cool. And maybe also they think, maybe they did military service and they want to play Imperial Guard because it kind of
Yeah.
like reminds them of cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but they don't know anything more. Maybe our videos can cut down 2 of those.
Yeah.
And for the rest, they'll go to the detailed areas.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be very helpful. It's just, I don't see a lot of it. So we are going to be making a video for every single faction.
Yep.
And for you guys listening, maybe that's for you. Cool. If it's not, and you're trying to get friends to play with you, please send it to them.
Yeah.
It's got to be so much effort on our part, but we are excited to tackle the challenge because we want to get it out quickly.
And now, we're not saying we're opposed to doing longer form constructive content about specific factions.
Yes.
But for this instance, we are going to be covering every faction in a way that is baseline, which is what we believe our understanding of these factions also signifies. Some of these factions we don't play. So, like, I'm not a Sisters of Battle player, right? I can read about the faction, but I haven't put in like 10, 15, 20 games of Sisters of Battle. I can't explain to you how they work in depth because I haven't played them. And I might be able to pull someone on to talk about it, but that's not me talking about it, you know what I mean? So if we do in-depth stuff in the future, it will be stuff that we play, that we are passionate about, that we enjoy. Not just because the algorithm says we should make it because they have a codex.
Yeah. It's one of the things that we have not budged on is we will not do faction focuses that we aren't into.
Yeah.
Even if it means we're giving up views.
And like, we are not opposed to having people on the show. So like,
we've done it before. We could do it again.
Yeah, we will cover them as we can, probably as big ones, long as it doesn't feel wrong. Like we here don't like to just do stuff because we have to. We want to do it because we want to. We're making these 27 videos because we want to. We think it's going to be fun, and it's going to be great to see released. It's just a lot in 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we're going to give it our damnedest. Because for us, I feel like if you're new and you're probably going to get pulled in when the new edition drops, right? Like all the rules drop. That's when you're going to be interested. And I want to try to have videos up for those people badly. So they have some sort of they have a chance to find a touchstone to help them.
Well, even like personally, I know a bunch of people that are interested in coming back to the game for 10th edition that are interested in like what these factions do and want to know what all the factions do, even if they're only planning on playing one. And this is a great opportunity for them to like have that information much easier than having to listen to like an hour for each faction.
27 hours of deep dives, and that's if they're short deep dives.
Yeah, and so get that out of the way, and then there's other people that just want to know what their faction they're interested in does now. Boom. Here you go. Like,
yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be a great fortuitous time of massive growth in the hobby, of people coming back, new people starting, old bitter people leaving and going and playing the old editions. It's going to be great. It's going to be fresh, new, delicious.
The hotness. Mm-hmm. You can turn on the hot and ready signs, so to speak.
Yeah,
And
it's a Little
now
Caesars. Like
now I
at
want a
10
donut.
o'clock at night. Like, we're drunk.
God.
We want pizza. Everywhere's closed. The Rallies doesn't have fries anymore. We can only have Little Caesars. And so we're getting some crazy bread. We're getting a hot and ready. And we're going home. And we're playing Halo 3 with our buds. It's going to be great.
Breaking Benjamin plays in the background.
Yes.
What a high school fantasy.
That's our lives.
I wish it was.
We can make it. We can play Gears of War forever. We can turn this into a Gears of War podcast.
Oh, I have so many thoughts about Gears of War. John, we're going to have to write the Gears of War tabletop war game.
Yes. Yeah.
No one else is going to do it for us. We'll write it ourselves.
I actually think you're wrong. What we're really going to write is a Planet of the Apes war game. But, you know.
Oh, ape together strong.
Yes.
This could be an ape podcast.
You have a double degree in biology. You can absolutely talk about animals for an hour.
John, I have a triple degree in biology.
I'm sorry.
My degrees are in evolution, ecology, and organismal biology.
Excuse me. Big dick science over here.
Yeah, it takes 20 grand in student debt to be able to know how cool critters are. God, we are so derailed. We are way loosier than our Goosey was supposed to be.
That's all right.
Yeah, but so like we're gonna be coming out with this, but also, we are going to keep the podcast coming.
Yes.
If you are someone who is a listener of just like on Spotify or podcasts or like wherever you get them, or you just listen to the audio on YouTube, they're still coming. All of this is in addition to our normal podcast release. We're not going to short anybody. We might be a little manic and tired, but it's still coming.
We might just get real weird, but it's all right.
Don't worry. We're still making an episode for you to listen to while you hobby. And this is all also going to have face cam.
Yes.
All of it.
Going forward,
So,
we will have face cams for the episodes as well. Obviously, you're not going to have them for like Spotify.
I don't know how to get that to you. I would if I could.
You can't. Spotify doesn't have video.
Spotify with video is just YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. I got there. Don't worry. But for the actual like faction focuses as well, we will also have pictures and higher editing to try to be able to show stuff in the background that's relevant and interesting throughout all of this. So we are really going to try to up the ante here.
Yep.
And I hope y'all are going to enjoy it. And as always, please feel free to give feedback. We're going to give it our best college try. There's going to be a lot that we could do better. I guarantee it. And we would like to do it. So let us know. So like that is the actual hard content plan for like what's coming. Faction focus videos in detail. Well, sorry, not in faction focus videos for all of them. Not super detail. And then we're going to up our editing quality with video. Also, at the end of the month, we're going to start playing a ton of 10th games. So we have a big weekend for the 4th of July weekend, where we are going to play nonstop for 4 days. Just Warhammer, Warhammer, Warhammer. And the goal for us is that this will allow us to get a lot of experience quickly against a number of factions, so that we can then come talk to y'all without talking out of our ass.
Really, what he's saying is that we're going to be grilling out hamburgers, hot dogs, maybe some ribs, maybe a roast chicken, and then we are going to eat a bunch of Doritos, drink a bunch of Mountain Dew, drink a bunch of Monster Energy drinks, yell at each other about big spacemen and big space bugs and big like Dommy Mommy space elves, whatever, and we are going to like come back to y'all with like, all right, this is kind of how the edition plays. Like, collectively, I think we have a ton of people who have played all the way back to like 5th and 6th edition. We've got a bunch of people who just started 8th and 9th edition, and we're gonna have a bunch of like experience to be able to be like, this was what everyone's takeaways was. This is how the game seems to play. This is how it can be played casually. I think we're going to see a lot of content over the next couple of weeks of what does the competitive sphere of 40K look like. I don't think most of you play competitively. I think most
If
people.
you do, even if you do, that you are not coming here for competitive stuff.
I think that you might try to get a vibe for like how people generally feel, which is fine. But we are going to focus on like, okay, what is the casual person who's just playing this game with their friends and wanting to have a good time? What's their experience? How is that? I think a lot of the stuff they've shown off in 10th edition, it's very pushed more towards the casual end than 8th and 9th was. 8th and 9th seem to be much more pushed for competitive play. This is looking like it's going back to its roots of like Garage Hammer, Beer Hammer. And we'll see how much of that actually ends up being the case.
Yeah.
In order to do that, we have to make the ultimate Garage Beer Hammer. We have to grill out on a porch and play Space Marines versus Tyranids like the old days.
Yes. It has to be done. And I mean, we do not want to come here and make episodes talking about a game that we have not played enough of to feel confident in what we're saying. Badly.
Yeah.
And like, we're not making money off of this, so like, it is very easy for us to stick to our morals on it. That we don't want to give you bad information.
Yeah.
And untested hunches is not great.
And there's a lot of
y'all to
fever
work off of.
going on around about 10th edition right now because everyone's anxious, new edition, yeah, and everyone's just like, it's gonna be terrible, it's bad, like it's compounding. I'm gonna be honest, we are not going to start talking about 10th edition and speculating too much until we've played the damn game. Like, we want to play it. We want to see the points. Like, we want to look at it through a lens of experience and not through a lens of like, well, I read 17 posts on Reddit and watched 3 YouTube videos. I have a college degree in Space Marines.
Yeah. So that's coming. And after that is when you might see more detailed faction focuses.
Yes.
Once we have played a lot of games, and with a couple of armies, I'm going to go in heavily with Custodes, and might mess around, play some Tau as well. John, you're hitting it hard with Dark Angels, and might mess around, play some Imperial Guard. And after you have enough games with those, and we've talked about our general vibes, that's when you might see detailed, more podcasty level stuff about specific faction breakdowns. But that will be a little while, so we could get the prerequisite experience to have interesting thoughts.
And we may have some folks with like interesting takes on like Tyranids, Stitcher's Battle, Grey Knights.
That's when we're phoning.
Chaos
definitely
Knights.
when we would phone a friend.
Yeah, we've got some phone a friend options out there that we might be able to pull in. Not making any promises, but we've got some folks. So we might just start diving deep into that if y'all really like this. And you like our takes of it, like, hey, we're not trying to help you make a competitive list. We're trying to make you have a fun list. Help you bring something that you'll have fun at your local game store with your buddy that you're drinking beers with. And have both of you have a good time.
Yeah. A list that will certainly perform well, but isn't cheesy, weird spam.
We like to call it casually competitive. You want to win, but you don't want to make someone feel bad while you're doing it.
Yeah. And we're excited for that. But it's just going to take a little time. So if that's what you're looking for is long form stuff rather than the short stuff, just be a little patient. We're waiting, so we hope that it's better. And now we just kind of wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about it's going to sound a little weird, like our feelings about the show.
Yeah.
Like, just how we are feeling about Kentucky Fried Wargaming and where we've been, how it's going. John, you could start.
So, like, I really enjoy the show. I really enjoy sitting down and talking with Joe about this stupid game that dominates so much of our lives. We play an entire weekends around playing it. We love to talk about it. We talk about things that would be fun to talk about on the show. We actively look for new games to talk about in the show.
Sometimes we will start talking and go, stop. This is a podcast.
Yes.
Like, this is an episode. Change topic.
And it's great. But I think we need to up our ante. I think we've hit a wall for about the last year, where like we kind of stopped growing, and then we kept
Hmm.
doing it because it's fun. Like we enjoy it, but we also still need to see some growth. A lot of that's kind of on our end, but part of it is we just gotta change.
Certainly.
We gotta change our processes. Like we have to make it more personable and without giving up our morals, right? Like we are two dudes in Kentucky who are just having a good time. We don't go to tournaments all the time. We're mostly making dick jokes about Sanguinius. Like it's we listen to the books, we read the books, we paint the models, we build them, we try out different games, we play lots of different games, we've done different touchstones. We're just kind of sharing that with all of you. Um, and it's been heartening to see how many different people, even though there's not a ton, who have reached out and been like, "Hey, we really like your show. Like it's
Hmm.
very engaging. It feels very fun. It doesn't feel like I'm listening to two dudes talk about video games forever or like esports. It feels like sitting in a game store and talking with people that I barely know, which is
Hmm.
fun, and that's the vibe we're going for. Um, and I would like to be able to bring that vibe to more people. I want to like that when I enjoy the moments I enjoy in the hobby are things that remind me of before YouTube was massive, right? And you're in a game store and you were learning new things from people in person with you. You were playing games with new people in a store. You were enjoying that ambiance. You might read articles every once in a while. There might be some forum posts on Daka Daka. Like there's some stuff that was going around the internet still, but it wasn't like this all-encompassing like entity that dictated whether or not you could have fun with the game or not, which I often find is the case nowadays. And kind of pushing back against that by just being like, no, like we're having fun. We're having fun. We're playing the game, and we want to share that with all of you. We want to help you also have fun with the game if that's something you want. Right? Build a community that fosters the idea of playing and enjoying these games together because if they're games.
They are little plastic toys.
And to do that, we have to put a little bit more elbow grease and a little bit more work, which perfectly fine
Yes.
doing. We'll do it all day. Um, I have met some of the people who have watched the show, and they're great. I love playing the games. It's fantastic. Personally, I would love to get to the point where we could put on like Kentucky Fried Wargaming T-shirts and go on to Adepticon and be walking around and like painting like miniatures of people, saying hi to people, buying stuff. It'd be great.
John, we couldn't do t-shirts. We'd have to do like cut off sleeve denim vests
Uh,
with big old back patches for
or like
KFW.
flannels. Yeah, 100%.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We cannot just do t-shirts. It ain't the flavor.
yeah.
And more trashy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Trashy's part of the
we got
brand.
to get the trashiest stuff possible.
Um, I, I, I do sometimes think us being just like a little trashy might be part of the appeal.
I mean, yeah,
Especially when I look at like the listener locations. Like there are like I'm not saying we have a ton of listeners. Do not misunderstand people
yeah,
out there. But like we've got some enough to have analytics, and the number of people from Britain shocks me. Like what? Why do you want to hear our like trashy Kentucky asses talk about this game when you live in the Mecca? And I assume because they like the trash.
yeah. I'd like. We're not saying trashy with like a negative connotation here.
No,
We're saying
no.
trashy.
We
in
are
the sense
reclaiming the word.
yeah, we are not like we're just simple, right? Like we don't need extremely fancy set design or like anything like that. Like this is I'm filming this in a bedroom, like with a bunch of stuff I think is cool behind me. Like it's personable. Like we want to we want to be who we are on camera with all of you
Yes.
because like if you met me in real life, this is what I would be like. This is how we would play games together.
Hmm.
Like there's something to that, right? There's a lot of persona that gets put on the internet. There's no persona here. I'm just a goofy dude who lives in Kentucky.
Yes. And I think that's, I don't know, for me, that's where I want to focus the effort, is being able to sort of make more avenues for hopefully who we are to come across. And hopefully that helps our topics and advice and help also come across better. Sometimes we get sent requests for episode topics, and I assume that someone does that oftentimes because they're having a problem somewhere. And, this hobby that they really enjoy doing, they've hit a snag. And when that happens, we'll make an episode specifically to try to help them. But making an episode does not guarantee that it lands. And I think us trying to, show our faces, do some editing, will help that to land more strongly.
Yeah. And
to get it to more people.
And going forward beyond just the videos, we have discussed making a Discord and having like a space where we can all talk, help each other, right? That'd be great. We'll get there. We'll get there because that's the goal, right? Like we all want to just watch people grow and share their models and have a time.
Yes.
So this is not about money for us. This is about
good thing because we don't make that.
Yes, exactly. Like we're not trying to be big. We are trying to like have fun with people in the hobby. Like make a digital game store. We're making a digital game store.
Yeah. Well, and I think for us that matters more because we are from Kentucky. And let's be honest, like Kentucky is not exactly a mecca for little tabletop war games.
Yeah, it's true.
Just not. It's just not. Especially as you go to the more rural parts of the state, it's really not.
Yeah. Like there are places where like you have to drive an hour and a half to get a game in.
Maybe. Yeah. Some places it's probably further when you really get into like southeast Kentucky. And that means we are more acquainted with how it feels to feel more isolated in this hobby if you don't have a local shop to hang out with people. And, I think that makes us uniquely qualified to try to push back against it and create a space for people to get that feeling elsewhere, even if you are geographically isolated and in any number of places in the world where you might be in a similar situation to someone in Kentucky with no shop around you to hang out in. And it isn't the same, but it's something.
Yeah.
You got people to, argue about which Primarch gives the best hugs with.
Yeah. Well, we will argue that, in fact, if our Angron wouldn't have been abused, he would have given the best hugs.
Yeah. But he was, which is why I think the answer is twofold. It's definitely Sanguinius and Vulcan. It's a twofer. It's a tie. But it's different types of hugs.
Okay, but what if Sanguinius and Vulcan, like, DBZ fusion danced?
Oh my lord. It would be the greatest hug ever. It would solve chaos.
Imagine Vulcan, but with wings and super long hair instead of being bald.
Wild. Yeah, because I feel like Sanguinius hugs are like mom hugs. Like, they're very nurturing and loving. And that's a different hug, though, than like Big Dad Bear hug. That's like real fun and sort of jovial. And I feel like those are the best hugs. And if you like combined them, oh, that's good stuff. Truly, like humanity's hatred would be gone. The cyclical nature of violence ended. Hugs only.
Solution found. But we've talked about our feelings a bunch.
I've been reading Vinland Saga. It shows.
Yes. We talked about our feelings a bunch. We don't want to get like too deep and in the weeds with it. Functionally, like we're changing stuff because we want to. We want to try to keep improving.
Yeah, we just wanted to have a place though to check in. Like when channels start making changes, you can't help but kind of ask yourself, I wonder why. And I wonder how they're doing. So like before we get into the maelstrom of 10th edition stuff, we thought we'd take a time to just sort of, I don't know, have a status check from us to y'all. And now, next steps. As you would imagine, we've done a lot of talk about 10th edition, right? Like
yes.
Games Workshop stuff. And it's because,
yes, James
for being
Workshop.
honest, yes, James Workshop. Because they are the biggest game in the space. Like they are.
Yes.
They by far have the most players, the most money, and they sort of occupy the most space in everyone's thoughts. And we play it. So, of course, we're going to talk about that stuff, and a new edition change is really cool and exciting. But we are not Kentucky Fried Warhammer. or Kentucky Fried Wargaming.
Yes.
And that's because, as John said, we like to play multiple different games, and we get excited by multiple different games. And we've talked about them on the channel. And, A Song of Ice and Fire had a number of episodes on that, even talking about, like, factions and whatnot. And Star Wars Legion, talked about that on the podcast. And to various degrees, I feel like those were worth talking about. But, I don't know, we don't want to just focus around Games Workshop, so we look for opportunities to be excited about other things. And games sort of have different spectrums. One, how much we like playing a game. But two, and separate, is how compelled we are to talk about a game on a, something like this, where we would talk about a topic for an hour or more, oftentimes. And sometimes we do like playing a game, but we don't really feel enough thoughts to noodle about it to do long-form episodes. But every now and then, we sort of get a feeling of both.
Yes.
And I think, for me, what I think is going to work its way into the show is Conquest.
Yes.
Last Argument of Kings. I mean, we've been building minis, and we've been reading about the lore for quite a while, and now doing, like, mechanical learning and building lists and stuff, and I feel very drawn to this incredible game.
And what really strikes me is that we're already feeling this way before we even sat down to play the game. Like, we normally don't have that, right? Like, normally we're like, all right, we're going to dig through, but like, no, we are getting enraptured by just, like, sitting and looking at getting ready for the game. And this is a game both of us have had interest in for a long time, pretty much since release of their first edition. We both just had the problem of there just wasn't enough factions, and there wasn't enough there. That has changed. Their second edition is much more approachable, and there's a lot more there. And they seem to be growing exponentially, which makes us much more likely to go in with our money. As you can see right behind me, look at that. Wadroon, the new starter set. Have it, bought it, building it. Will say their models kind of hard to build. Wild.
Some of them hard to build.
Yeah. But the scale improved, like bigger. Very fun.
I'm a big fan of bigger models.
The list building, immense. It reminds me so much of what worked about old Warhammer Fantasy list building, list design.
I could list build for so long in Conquest, I am finding. The depth of variety just in a single character is sort of mind-boggling to me. Like, I've played a lot of games where you get a character and they're all, it's like a special change to a unit, like a Song of Ice and Fire, for example. You could pick like Jon Snow and I could put him in a Sworn Brothers unit. But Jon Snow is going to play as Jon Snow every time forever in that game. Like, Jon Snow does what Jon Snow does. Period. Or in Warhammer 40k. Like, if you have a captain, you could give him a relic. That might give him a little change, but the captain still does what a captain does.
Yep.
But, for example, I'm playing the Nords. One of our heroes is called the Blooded. He's like a big, hulking, genetically modified Viking warrior man. The Blooded, you could kit out to be a murder melee, horrific character who's just like got a bunch of attacks and stuff and gets in and blenders people. Or you can instead change him to be a ranged damage dealer and stick him in a different unit of like archers, and now he's chucking spears and stuff at people. And now he goes from melee blender unit to like squishier ranged damage dealer threat. Or, I've now given him the ability to where he's got the curse of being a werewolf, and now he's a big old brute monster man, and you could stick him in with big brutes. And he's no longer like a normal foot hero. He's a werewolf man now. Sorry. Like, and that's one character. if you're someone like me who likes to piddle about with lists, that's compelling.
Yeah, like it's very compelling. And on top of that, like the game itself aesthetically is interesting. The world is very vibrant with lots going on. It's very nuanced. It takes some time to chew through, I will say that, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, I'm playing a faction of orcs riding dinosaurs that have like the ability to inspire each other through song. Like, it's so
Bardic orcs
it's so cool. Like bardic barbarian orcs. It's
on
my
dinosaurs.
vibe. I love it. Um, but yeah, like that is what they do. It's very cool. Um, we are going to cover this game. Like,
Yeah.
we're not
I
sure
can't.
what that looks like, but we're going to
Yes.
cover it.
And it's rare that I feel like, oh, I want to badly play game, and I also think, wow, there are many things to talk about regarding game. But this one, I really think there is much to talk about. And if we have as much fun as I suspect we will on the tabletop, yeah, this could be regular.
It's just inopportune that we were both just like Conquest right as 10th edition drops. So we are both just like, when can we quit our jobs and just play Conquest and Warhammer?
Yeah, well, like I think I even mentioned it on an episode like a year ago when we were talking about like when we were getting into A Song of Ice and Fire. It's like, well, like I really want to try Conquest, but like it might be a little complex for some of our group, and I don't know if they're gonna be into it.
Yes.
And like I don't know if no one to play with. Like I'm not gonna buy a game that there's no one to play with. It's okay. I'll let it go. And then a number of things happened in close succession. Like, first, they said that they were dropping a second edition and that they were redoing all of their one-player starter boxes. It's like a start collecting box, which is cool. Two, my game shop said that they could stock it, which means I get my members discount on said box. Three, randomly, someone in my game shop Discord started talking about how they're starting Conquest and would love to play with people, and a lot of people were interested. And then four, John and I decided it's fine. We could just have a game that he and I plays even if no one else does.
And then it all happened like within 2 days. And then we're like, oh fuck, I guess it's just a thing we're doing now.
Oops. Yeah, I'm so excited. I think this game has an incredible amount of potential, as is and as it grows, because there are more factions coming, and there is narrative coming, and I'm very excited to talk about both in one way or another. I'm so sort of enraptured, and I can't wait.
It's gonna be a good time.
And I think it would also potentially, after we do the hard work of all of this 10th edition episodes, what a great palate cleanser to then just, orcs on dinosaurs.
Yes. Orcs and dinosaurs. They're just, you would expect orcs and dinosaurs to play like orcs on dinosaurs and just be all monster trucks. But they are not all monster trucks, which is kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm. A lot of depth. So that will be coming in the year. Like in terms of secondary game coverage, that's going to be one of them. And there could be other things we talk about. I mean, we play and enjoy things like A Song of Ice and Fire and Legion. And if those games get a big update, yeah, maybe we'll talk about those too. But I don't know. They don't feel as supported as Conquest feels for me right now. And that opinion could change later. But Conquest has got like a really compelling release cadence. They've got FAQ changes. They're really involved with their community. They're putting out new models, not at a rate that's hard to keep up with, but at a fast enough rate that I'm still going, wow, that's cool. That's just... Oh, and all the rules are free and digital.
Conquest feels a lot like GW in like 2015, 2016, where like they were starting to get into the internet sphere and they're building in the community and people were starting to play, but there wasn't a ton of popularity there. Feels very similar, except for with some better practices, like free rules online, cheaper models.
Big fan.
They're not the big boy on the block, so they don't have as much clout to flex the ways they would probably like to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, at the least, I can guarantee you we're going to be talking about Conquest.
Yeah.
At the highest form, we might get way into Conquest.
Yeah.
I mean, we might go to a Conquest like 1-day tournament, truly.
Yeah.
If we really enjoy it enough. And we might cover that. And by God, like we've mentioned it before, I like to write stories. Big fan of writing stories and telling them to people. And we've considered making just like little one-off fun audio tales for people to listen to. Conquest would really be interesting to write little audio tales for. Ooh. I ain't gonna commit to it, but if we really, really get wrapped up, it might just be fun. Might just be fun.
Might just be a fun thing that we just put on the internet and see how many other people like.
See how it goes. I don't know. I don't expect anything out of it, but it'd be a good time. And I'm really excited for that for the later half of the year. And I know this episode was probably a bit rambly for everyone, but we just wanted to have our thoughts out in the open. I feel like especially in the midst of detail-oriented episodes, sometimes you just need a quick break. So for us, we are going to be doing a lot of work over here. But if you heard anything from this episode that you are really into, or you really aren't into, and you don't think is as compelling, or you have suggestions, or stuff we've missed, or new ideas, or feedback from the new stuff we're putting out that could be improved for sure, please send it over. Like we say this all the time, and we mean it, but wow, now in this time of like change and experimentation, it would be deeply appreciated.
Yeah. And if you want to see more of this and you want to see us grow, you can help. You can help by liking our videos. You can help by subscribing, leaving reviews on podcast websites.
Very helpful.
All of those things help immensely. Sharing this with your friends that you think would also get a kick out of it. I hate to shill and beg y'all to do this, but it genuinely helps us reach more people. We are a very small show, so any amount helps.
And we appreciate it.
We do.
In the meantime, we're going to be doing our best to try to make our first launch of these things fun and not too manic.
I swear, by like the fourth one in, we're gonna have like a Pepe Sylvia board. Just gonna open up the video to me smoking a cigarette in my apartment. All right, so we're talking about Imperial Guard.
God, just every time I think Imperial Guard, I now think Starship Troopers, and I'm gonna be saying that I'm doing my part.
Oh God, we can play Starship Troopers. All right.
No, John, we can't. Well, maybe we can. I don't know. It's the end of the episode. We're fucking around. That's been all of our opinions. Bonafide Kentucky Fried. We'll see y'all on the next one.